Greetings Guardians. This is Olympus Alliance and welcome back to another episode of our tips series, where we continue understanding heroes better because sometimes a hero initially looks simple, funny or even strange until you actually understand what they're doing behind the scenes and suddenly you realize they are solving problems you didn't even know your team had. And Guardians. Before we even begin talking about Guus, let me ask something. How many times have you watched Iris slowly destroying your team while everyone simply melts? How many times have damage over time effects stacked so hard that you knew exactly what was coming but still couldn't stop it? Because one of the funniest things about Guus is that while enemies are trying to slowly destroy your team through continuous pressure, Guus is often doing the exact opposite. He takes damage, transforms pressure into healing, delays destruction, and sometimes completely changes how damage over time feels during battles. So today we talk about Guus, the farmer, the man with 3 very strange geese, and guardians. This hero is much more dangerous than people initially think, because Guus is innovation disguised as simplicity. At first glance you see a farmer, you see geese, you see feathers. But what Guus actually creates is stability. And stability wins battles. One of the biggest reasons Guus became so important is because his role extends far beyond healing, because Guus doesn't simply heal allies and wait for battles to finish. He mixes healing together with critical support, effectively performing multiple jobs simultaneously and creating something extremely valuable. Efficiency. Because whenever a hero performs 2 roles successfully, suddenly team building becomes easier. Now you need fewer support heroes, fewer healing slots, fewer compromises. And this immediately makes Guus fit naturally into many compositions, especially physical teams and teams that rely heavily on surviving longer battles. And this is where damage over time interactions become interesting. Because damage over time has a weakness. Continuous damage continuously charges targets. Enemies dealing repeated damage are often accelerating cycles, accelerating ultimates, accelerating reactions. And Guus takes advantage of this beautifully. Because while enemies are applying pressure, Guus starts stabilizing. His geese activate. Feathers scatter everywhere. And suddenly the battlefield starts changing. The team becomes protected. Healing begins spreading evenly. Continuous pressure suddenly becomes much easier to survive. Damage that previously felt overwhelming now feels manageable. And while everyone is surviving more comfortably, Guus quietly creates another advantage. Aggression. Because alongside survivability comes additional physical critical hit chance. And guardians. This is important. Because now teams are not only surviving longer, they are also becoming more dangerous. Critical hits become more frequent. Damage output increases. Pressure increases. And suddenly what initially looked like a defensive hero is also increasing offensive output. Things become even more interesting because Guus has a beautiful interaction with golden feathers. Whenever another golden feather is applied again, the duration extends. And this sounds simple, but the meaning behind this mechanic is enormous. Because extending effects means maintaining cycles. Maintaining cycles means maintaining stability. Maintaining stability means thriving longer. Long battles naturally become more comfortable for Guus because his mechanics continuously reward repetition. Then the geese go back to work again. Now allies standing in front of Guus receive golden feathers. And here we discover another extremely valuable layer. Continuous healing. Because these feathers continuously restore health while active. Fragile allies survive longer. Frontliners remain stable. Teams maintain structures more comfortably. But Guus is not finished. Because now he starts addressing another enormous problem. Burst damage. Continuous damage is one problem. Burst damage is another. And guardians. The geese apparently found a solution. Because while golden feathers remain active, healing effectiveness increases. Suddenly healing becomes stronger. Recovery becomes stronger. Survival becomes stronger. And then peak creates something extremely annoying for opponents. Because if an ally carrying golden feathers is about to fall below dangerous thresholds, health restoration activates again. Burst damage that should finish allies suddenly fails. Enemies commit resources. Resources disappear. Targets survive. And this changes entire fights. The cost? The feather disappears. But guardians. If a feather disappearing prevented a death, that is usually a trade you happily accept. Then we arrive at perhaps one of the funniest mechanics. Honkageddon. Because critical hits normally create extra damage. Guus decides to do something different. Now critical hits help distribute more golden feathers. And suddenly the system expands even further. Because allies carrying feathers now deal stronger critical damage. Honor allies become even more dangerous. And the snowball effect begins. More feathers. More criticals. More damage. More survival. More pressure. And one beautiful thing happens. The longer battles continue, the stronger these interactions become. Which naturally leads us to synergy. Kayla immediately becomes interesting because Kayla loves creating pressure through repeated attacks and aggressive positioning, while Guus continuously supports survival and increases critical opportunities. Yasmine is another fantastic example because more critical interactions naturally create stronger assassination potential, and Yasmine loves critical support. Drayne also becomes more dangerous because additional offensive support naturally amplifies what Drayne already wants to accomplish. And guardians. This is what makes Guus special. He does not simply heal. He delays destruction. He stabilizes chaos. He transforms pressure into survivability. He creates offensive value while performing defensive roles. And somehow, he does all this while carrying geese. So guardians. Did Guus surprise you? Do you already use him? Or are you starting to understand why this strange farmer became one of the most important support heroes in Hero Wars? Let us know below. Stay tuned, stay sharp, and as always, salute and friendship.